Wargaming are altering the WZ1321 line, as well as removing some of the Tier 10 premiums, along with some of the other update news. Today's video is going to cover everything you need to know about all of that, and of course we'll be going through all of the bundles and sales that Wargaming are hoping to do this week as well as part of this week's update to World of Tanks. So without further ado, let's take a look at the changes to the WZ132 line. I'm going to explain what each of them mean and how they're going to affect the tanks to make them just a little bit better. So the first tech tree kind of on-track event for the WZ1321 line comes in the form, or the first change comes at the tier 10 level, and this is of course the tank that you want to get at the end of it. And this tank, it's probably one of the worst light tanks at tier 10 because it's more of a medium tank, and it doesn't get very particularly great view range comparatively to the Sheridan and of course the T100 LT. It's much bigger, maybe not bigger than the Sheridan, but yeah, it's definitely a bigger tank, and much like the other vehicles in the game, you can see it here. It looks very much like a Soviet medium tank that obviously can go a lot faster. And talking about the speed, it's gone up from 65 kilometers an hour to 68. So you've gained, like 5% more speed? And I mean, it's still not going to compete with the other tier 10 light tanks, considering they can go about 70 or more than that, up to 75 if you're looking at the Panzerwagen, I believe, off the top of my head. That might be slightly wrong, but either way, like, this vehicle is not going to be the fastest tier 10 light tank, so it's not got that in its arsenal. They have improved the reverse speed, which is quite nice. So I mean, you can get out of the situation if you've maybe pulled around a corner a little bit too far, and then you want to get back out of there as quickly as possible, so that's going to help you out. So an extra 10 to 15% increase in reverse speed. Ammo rack has got its health from 210 to 260, because Chinese ammo racks are literally a thing. I believe the tier 8 I played, and in the first 3, or like something like that, within the first 5 games, I'd been ammo racked twice in a row, first time ammo racked, like one shot ammo rack for the entire health of my tank 2 times in a row. It was a little bit triggering, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Wargaming obviously don't like the Chinese light tank line, but regenerated health, you'll also increase that. I mean, I don't really see the point in that. Health regenerated per second will be 6.125 to 7, and health burn per second will be 19 to 20. So yeah, I mean, nothing too major, to be honest. In that regard, it's just literally a slight buff to its ammo rack. The chassis will have dispersion during movement reduced, so smaller values on dispersion are better, so it's getting massive buff to its on movement accuracy. So when you're trying to kind of move the hull of the tank, if you're trying to out-traverse someone and you're auto-aiming them, for example, you'll be a lot more accurate than what it was previously, but it's still not that inaccurate, if that makes sense. But either way, this vehicle is pretty decent in general, and you're going to have the dispersion during rotation and movement increased or decreased, so that you've got better accuracy. Accuracy increases. View range is also going from 400 to 410, so that combats a little bit of the view range disadvantage that you get with this vehicle, but it's still not that great. And then you've got the 105mm having its gun depression buffed from 5 degrees to 6 degrees, and its reload reduced by about 10%. So yeah, you've got 10% more damage per minute, and the aftershock dispersion has gone from 4 to 3.5, but it's still not really got the core issues with this vehicle, and that is the handling of the main armament, because if you have a look at the statistics page at the moment, the gun dispersion of this, or the accuracy, is 0.42, which can be almost as bad as something like the IS-7, so it's not particularly very good, and it certainly gets kind of out DPM'd by pretty much all of the other tier 10s light tanks in the game, so it's not particularly great. And then we move on to the Tier 9 WZ132A, which is the tank I'm currently on. This is also getting buffs to its accuracy on the move and during rotation, buffed by a considerable amount. I mean, it's not that considerable. I mean, it's 0.01, so it's not really gaining too much. Is getting increases to its rotation speed of its turret, so that means you'll be able to move your turret faster. I mean, it's good for if you, I guess, are trying to out-traverse someone, but it wasn't that bad anyway. Like, it's fairly okay. It's not going to really do too much. The 100mm penetration at 500 meters is going to be buffed, so instead of being 167 millimeters of penetration, it will be up to 172. So this is if you are sniping. Your actual penetration won't drop off as much, because for those of you that don't know, at longer distances, the penetration value of your tank, so say if it was 100, for example, if you're at 100 meters, it might be 100. If you're at 500 meters, it might end up being 50 millimeters of penetration. So the further away the target is, the lower penetration your round will do, unless you're using certain rounds in the game. I believe APCR doesn't actually get damage drop off or penetration drop off at ranges. So yeah, it's not really too big of a problem. Obviously, also getting the gun depression buff from 5 degrees to 6 degrees, turret rotation also going down. And the same with the Top Gun, except this one is getting improved accuracy from 0.42 to 0.4 with the 100mm 62 100 TA. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit better, along with the penetration values as well being buffed. And then that pretty much carries down to the entire Chinese tech tree line, a light tank line that is, with everything getting a 6 degrees of gun depression over the front and the sides, not the rear of the tank, and also getting the penetration increases over the distance, like we've talked about just then, and that literally applies to everything. Even the tier 6 will also get this buff. Now, there's one thing that also is getting buffed, and that is a premium tier 9 vehicle in the T55A, which is also being removed from the game, and I'm currently looking to do a video on it, although I'm having a trouble getting some decent gameplays. I've got one so far, but I want to get two, but I'm just finding the vehicle pretty bad in general, but maybe that's just because I'm not used to playing these sorts of maybe inflexible mediums, more used to the British 10 degrees of gun depression with a much better turret and generally just way better in my opinion. But there we go. I mean, the T55A will be getting a reload buff, so it will be going from 8.1 second down to 7.7, which is nice. And also the penetration going from 221 to 238 as its standard AP round. So this is nice as well. So you'll be able to pen things a little bit easier with your standard rounds, since the 221mm at tier 9 can be very difficult if you're coming up against tier 10 heavies, and I've definitely found that. The problem being that the premium rounds in this thing are also heat rounds, which can be a little bit of a pain against a lot of the other medium tanks that you'll be fighting, because if they get absorbed by the tracks of the enemy medium. So yeah, other than that, I mean, the T55A could probably do with even more buffs to it, to be honest, to bring it in line with some of the others, but there we go. I mean, extra DPM will be better. Other than that, the WZ132 line will be getting a 50% silver discount between tiers 3 and tiers 6, along with a 30% silver discount between tiers 7 and tiers 10, and a 25% extra XP when playing any of the vehicles that we've just mentioned or are on screen right now. If you pause it, you can have a look at them. But yeah, essentially all of the vehicles that we talked about from tier 3 all the way up to the tier 10 Chinese light tank. So really looking forward to actually giving them a go. I'm on the tier 9 myself, so we'll be fully upgrading and giving it a real try with the new 6 degrees of gun depression as opposed to the 5 degrees, which will definitely be a slight improvement, but probably not make a world of a difference between the two. So that is not it. As we mentioned, and if you've been following the channel in the last 2 days, there have been some reviews of some of the vehicles that are getting removed, or at least removed from sale from World of Tanks. So they're not being completely removed. If you've got them in your garage, they will not be removed from your garage. They are just getting removed from sale, which means Wargaming will not be selling these tanks for an indefinite amount of time. We don't know when they next will be, but they'll be basically re-releasing them as part of special bundles, because of course they don't want you to purchase it at a decent price on its own. They want you to spend more money and buy it with another tank that they've got in their bundles, I expect. Or potentially they'll just whack in like a 60,000 gold bundle and say, look, if you actually want any of these, you're going to have to buy them all in one go for 60,000 gold or something ridiculous like that. But fingers crossed that isn't the way that they're going, and I hope that what they're actually doing is removing all of these and adding them in as challenges over the next few years, or maybe a year, whereby we can earn some of these vehicles back into the game, which would probably be the better option that I'd go with if I was Wargaming, as that probably won't annoy too many people, and it's a good way for people to be able to earn these tanks, considering that some of them are a little bit broken, especially featured the ones that we've recently done. And if you want to check out those reviews, there's 2 reviews so far. We've done the WZ-111 Quillin, we've done the Valor T95 FV4201 Chieftain, and the T95 FV4201. They're the same tank, just one's a skinned version basically. There'll be a T55A review coming out along with an Object 260 review, and we'll also be trying to get the M60 review done as well. So there's loads of reviews coming out on all of these tier 10s. We have done them in the past, or at least some of them in the past, so it's just an update, and of course showcasing all of them that are currently being removed. And there'll also be one more thrown in there, as there's pretty much only one tier 10 premium tank that isn't being removed, which is the Object 279E, which, yes, that will be part of the video series that we're kind of doing on the tier 10 premiums. Hopefully we can cover them all so you guys can get a good chance at seeing them all. Other than that, we've then got basically what Wargaming is saying is that they'll be removing a ton of these tanks all in one go, and then they'll be removing them from the premium tech tree. So they're starting with the tier 10 and tier 9 vehicles, and then I expect that they'll be moving down to tier 8, tier 7, tier 6, removing certain vehicles and leaving some there, much like they've already done, and then it will be a case of just releasing them as part of sales, because at the moment you can pretty much go onto the premium tech tree and buy any tank that you want, regardless of what it is. So I don't know if this is maybe a sales tactic to boost sales of premium tanks once again, like they previously did, since they've kind of been devalued in terms of how much money each of them are, which is a good thing for players, but probably maybe not a good thing for Wargaming. I don't know, maybe they want to become even more profitable than they probably already are as a multi-billion-dollar company, but there we go. I guess we'll have to wait and see as to what they want to do, and of course we'll be here to be critical of everything that they do if they do some shady stuff, which, you know, it's Wargaming. Anyway, we've got some other stuff that's coming alongside, and it comes in the form of content changes. So there will be a Czechoslovakian National Day, which brings, I believe, 3 times XP for your first win of the day in any of the vehicles in the game. So it's regardless of it being a Czech tank, it is literally any vehicle. So as long as you're playing on the Czechoslovakian National Day, then yes, you'll be able to take advantage of it. So this is really, really good. And so yeah, you can play any vehicle that you want. And in addition to that, all of the Czech tank bundles will be sold in the store, including the Skoda T56, one of the most broken tier 8 heavy tanks that's been released recently, or at least within like the last year, I suppose. And then the Tiger A18, which was not particularly great, and the Lioness, which was not particularly great. I think these are both autoloaders, but yeah, not particularly anything too special. There's also some other things that we'll go over now. If we go back down, we've got the new 2D Halloween Commanders. I mean, look at the state of this. Then we've also got the Select Premium Tech Tree sales. So this will be, well, like we said, all of those vehicles that are being removed are on sale as well during this week for 30% discount. So, I mean, you can pick them up if you really want to, but they're going to be very expensive if you want to spend gold on them, but now might be your only chance to get them for a long period of time. But remember, if they do release them for free, you've been warned. So don't go out and spend a load of money if you're hesitant as to whether you want to spend that money in the first place, and then it may be given out for free anyway, because most of them have been given out as part of an earn operation. I say most, there's been quite a few of them, including the 279E, including the Valor Chieftain. I think we also had, I think there's one or two more. The M60, I think, was given out for free. There's been loads of them, so just be wary. Alongside that, we've also then got the Tanks Reforged, like we've talked about, and then here we go, the deals of the week. You'll be able to pick up 7 days of premium. Wow, for 50% off, I expect. Alongside the WZ122, which I believe is a tier or an Era 2 premium tank, I believe, off the top of my head. Someone can comment in the comment section down below just to clarify, but I believe that that's the rocket launcher or ATGM version of the WZ that's in the Cold War game mode, and that will be 50% off, as with all of the deals of the week. And then the weekend deals will be the Ariete Progetto M35 Mod 46, which will be a vehicle I may even pick up myself, and the 50TP prototype, which is of course a very, very strong a Polish heavy tank, which is actually pretty good. And then we have the personal offers, which are also 50% off, so you'll be able to pick up the Bisonte C45, which is absolutely trash, to be honest with you, on console. On PC, less so, but yeah, of course on console it is a very nerfed down version, and so yeah, not particularly very good. Alongside the Deathstalker M46 Pattern, which I believe is okay. I mean, it's a fairly average medium to a pretty decent one. And then the Shashka SU-130 PM, which is the tier 8 tank destroyer from the Soviet line. So yeah, you will be able to pick this up if you do want that. And of course, it is very, very powerful. So the best deal of this week so far is the Shashka SU-130 PM. If you do want to pick it up, don't go out of your way to purchase it if you don't have the money or gold on your account. But if you do want a very solid tank destroyer, then that is probably the one to go with. But other than that, I hope that's covered everything that you need to know for this week. There's not too much there. I mean, there's the on-track event, which of course let me know what you think about it, and the WZ132-1 on itself. And of course, let me know what you think of these premium tanks, and if you want me to review any specific vehicles in the game, I will try my best to cover them all, but I cannot guarantee, since I don't own all of the tanks in the game, and I don't have any access to any wargaming account to play the various different vehicles, but I may be able to loan them. I don't know. I'll try and get some of the ones that I don't have on this list at tier 10 as loans or rentals, or some way of just trying to get them so I can showcase them to you guys. Other than that, I hope you did enjoy this video, and of course leave a like if you did, but remember the most important thing is that you have a great rest of your day. So I hope you do, and I hope you join me in the next video. Goodbye.